Hi, and welcome to this edition of Fresh Hope for Mental Health. Our mission here at Fresh Hope for Mental Health is to empower you to live well in spite of your mental health challenge by sharing insights through interviews, practical tools for living well, encouragement, and courage for overcoming all from a Christian perspective. And now, here's your host, Pastor Brad Hoefs.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to this edition for Fresh Hope for Mental Health. I'm Brad Hoefs, your host. Our purpose here on Fresh Hope for Mental Health is to empower you to live a faith-filled, rich, and full life in spite of having a mental health diagnosis. Now, today, I'm going to do something that's one of my most favorite things in my life. You could say it's a hobby of mine, and that is I love to collect sayings, quotes from other people, pithy little sentences, pithy little things that just get down to the heart of matters. You know, sometimes somebody can say in a sentence or a few words, or at least very short sentence, some very, very important things. And you can hang your hat on it. You can remember that saying. And I just love to collect them. In fact, those who are in my Fresh Hope group that I facilitate every Tuesday night, they will tell you periodically, not often, but periodically, I will bring a basket or a hat with a whole bunch of pieces of paper in it. And on those pieces of paper are quotes that I've collected, and we pass them around, and each person gets one, and then they have to share the quote with everybody and say, okay, I agree with this, I don't agree with this, I think this means this, I don't think it means that, blah, blah, blah. And it's great fun because it's, you know, it just helps us dig deep quickly sometimes. And so I have 5 quotes that I'd like to share with you in this edition of Fresh Hope for Mental Health, and I hope you'll find them helpful. And we will print them out for you in the notes on the podcast here. But here's the first one that I want to offer to you. It's a quote by Robert Frost. He says, "The best way out is always through." The best way out is always through. I think that's pretty true. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm in the middle of difficulties. Maybe it's a challenging relationship that I have with someone, or it's just leadership issues I have, or just problems and frustrations of daily life or whatever. And I want some helicopter to come and rescue me, get me out of this. I don't want to go through this. I don't want to have to endure this. And so far, that helicopter has never shown up. There's times where I've asked the Lord, can you just take care of this? Can you just teach me this instead of me having to go through this? And seldom has he rescued me that way. I suppose there's been times where he might have, but more times than not, I think he lets me go through life learning through my difficulties and frustrations and periods and times where I think I'm going through hell. And the best way forward, or the best way, is always through. Because through it, then I learn, and my character is developed, perseverance develops, and I'm able to comfort others when they go through that. So the best way out is always through. Now, the second quote I'd like to offer you is from Brené Brown. She's an interesting person. I really like most of everything she says, not necessarily everything. And she tells it like it is. She says words that probably I might not say, or I might not publicly say, but she's very gutsy and just tells it like it is. And she has a quote here that I really can ponder. It causes me to ponder more than anything. She says this: until we can receive with an open heart, we're never really giving with an open heart. When we attach judgment to receiving help, we knowingly or unknowingly attach judgment to giving help. I think you could even take off the giving help, but just to say, until we receive with an open heart, we can never really give with an open heart. And when we attach judgment to receiving, we knowingly or unknowingly attach judgment to giving. I think that's true. My experience is that when people carry a lot of shame, when we have a lot of shame that's still hanging on as baggage in our lives, and I'm not sure any of us ever get rid of all of our shame, the toxic shame. But if you don't really know God's love and live in His grace and His mercy, I think then we attach this judgment when somebody gives us something or somebody helps us, and we attach judgment to it. And we find ourselves, when we give, we have then certain expectations of others, how they should respond, so we pass that judgment on to how we give. It's good reflection. Until we can receive with an open heart, we're never really giving with an open heart. When we attach judgment to receiving, we knowingly or unknowingly attach judgment to giving. I took out the word help there from her original quote, but I think it makes it even broader in understanding. I don't know, I've received gifts from people over the years where I've been surprised at what came with the gift that wasn't spoken of. I've been given gifts where there were strings and there were expectations, and I think that's why. I think because people have their own judgment that comes out of shame, that they attach to when people do it for them, and so it gets attached when they do it for others. Oh, the next one is really a pithy statement. I don't know who made it. I came across it in a meme, and it just says it, really. It says, accountability feels like an attack when you're not ready to acknowledge your toxic behavior. Oh boy, that's true. I have felt attacked at times in my life when somebody's held me accountable or called me out for some of my behavior that was toxic. Still happens periodically. It's certainly not there yet. And when I get to be perfect, that'll be my last breath. Or upon drawing my last breath, then I'll be perfect. I was at a pastor's conference years ago along with my wife. It was back in the day when it was a church growth conference. So I was with some leaders that are well known, and they used the bathroom with us, and it was a small event, if you will, but they were helping us learn how to take care of ourselves and our marriages and everything. And a group of us that were a bunch of Lutheran pastors got together with our wives one evening after dinner, and we're sitting in this circle, and one of the guys, I said something, and one of the guys looked at me and he said, "So Brad, when are you going to get counseling?" And I thought, what the heck are you talking about? I don't need counseling. And I felt attacked. I was upset that he asked it. I was frustrated. When I think back on that, it's because I wasn't ready to acknowledge my own toxic behavior that I needed to work through and do something about. So I went on and on about how inappropriate he was and blah, 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 blah. And in spite of all of that, I didn't like the fact that he put his finger right on the issue. And so I kind of squealed out of anger and, you attacked me. That's just not appropriate. Well, today I probably would look at him and say, I've had so much, but what else do you see that I need to work on? The next quote, or let me just repeat this last one. Accountability feels like an attack when you are not ready to acknowledge your toxic behavior. The next one is, I could tell you how there are so many times where I have been frustrated with my weight, and I think I'm eating right, or I think I'm doing better, and the scale's not showing it. And there's other times where I really get focused and really change how I eat, and the scale shows it. So this quote means a lot to me from that perspective, but it means a lot from any perspective, really. And here it is. I don't know who said it. If you're not willing to change, don't expect your life to either. In other words, if you're not willing to change, don't expect your life to change either. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. You know, you've heard that one. Oh, it's true. Life doesn't change if you're not willing to do what it takes to change your life. Probably the hardest thing to do is change how we think and what we believe. And so much of life and so much of what we do and our attitude toward life and other people, are just everything comes from our core beliefs. And it's more about how we respond to life and react to life than it is about life itself. So if you're not willing to change, don't expect your life to change either. For me, I would take that and say, if you're not willing to change your eating behavior, Brad, and I'm very good at changing it for short periods of time and lose the weight, and then I think I can go back to the old ways, and it doesn't work. And so if you're not willing to change your eating for the rest of your life, don't expect the rest of your life to be fit. Your weight, your weight to be the right weight the rest of your life. That's what I think. Somebody recently told me that when you keep looping back around to certain things in your life, and I've kind of lost and gained the same weight lately, the last 3 to 5 years, and I know it's not healthy, and yet I do it. It's like I lose 30, gain that 30 back, or I lose 20 and then I gain 30 back, or whatever. And somebody recently said they don't see that as a bad thing, as long as when you hit one part of the circle that you're bouncing off of what God's doing in your life. And as you bounce off that, you're no longer looping around in a circle, going over and over, digging a rut, but you can in fact be looping and spiraling up. I like that. There's hope in that. There's hope in that. So if you're not willing to change, don't expect your life to change either. The last one, I love this one. It's so simple. Your future needs you. Your past doesn't. Think about that. Your future needs you. Your past doesn't. It's so easy to get tripped up on our past and hold on to it and forever thinking about it, that we miss the present. And what happens to the future then? So your future needs you. Your past doesn't. Well, there you have it. 5 simple sayings that I think take us deep and are worth thinking about. So the best way out is always through. Brene Brown says, until we can receive with an open heart, we're never really giving with an open heart. When we attach judgment to receiving, we knowingly or unknowingly attach judgment to giving. Accountability feels like an attack when you're not ready to acknowledge your toxic behavior. Your future needs you. Your past doesn't. If you're not willing to change, don't expect your life to change either. How about it? Are you trying to look for ways out instead of going through it? Do you have a lot of judgment towards yourself when you receive from others and when you give to them? Or you give to someone else that you attach that same judgment? Have you felt attacked by somebody because they're holding you accountable for your toxic behavior? Are you willing to really change? Or don't you really want to change, but you want your life to change? Are you spending a lot of time thinking and worrying about your past when, in fact, your future needs you? All good things to ponder and think through. Well, I hope this has been helpful to you. And thank you so much for listening to this edition of Fresh Hope for Mental Health. And I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at pastorbrad@freshhope.us. You can connect with us through social media or through YouTube and all kinds of other ways. If you're hearing this podcast on iTunes, please do me a favor and write a review, leave some comments. And in doing so, it helps others find the podcast on iTunes. And of course, we have groups that you can connect with across the United States, or we also have an online Fresh Hope group. And now we also have a Espanol group. And so we'd encourage you to check all that out. You can go to our website, freshhope.us, www.freshhope.us, and you can find blogs and all kinds of resources that we have there. Our goal is to empower you to live well in spite of having a mental health diagnosis. It's quite possible. I'm living proof of it. Well, until the next time, may the Lord fill you with His hope, fresh and new, daily. I'm Brad Hoefs, and this has been another edition of Fresh Hope for Mental Health.
You've been listening to Fresh Hope for Mental Health. If you have an opportunity, please review, share, and subscribe to the Fresh Hope for Mental Health podcast on iTunes or on the service that you use. We encourage you to share our podcast on social media with your friends and family. Previous podcasts of Fresh Hope for Mental Health can be found at freshhopeformentalhealth.com, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, and iTunes. The Fresh Hope for Mental Health podcast is part of Fresh Hope. Fresh Hope is an international network of Christian mental health peer support groups which empower people to live well in spite of having a mental health diagnosis. For more information about Fresh Hope, go to freshhope.us. Fresh Hope is one of the leading networks of faith-based peer support groups internationally. Our host, Brad Hoefs, is founder and president of Fresh Hope. He is a pastor who is living well in spite of having bipolar disorder. Brad is the author of the book Fresh Hope for Living Well, which is available at Amazon.com. Brad is also a speaker, blogger, hope coach, and mental health advocate. You can find more out about Brad by going to bradhoefs.com. Hoefs is spelled Hoefs. If you or someone you know is interested in attending a Fresh Hope group meeting, go to freshhope.us and click on Find a Group. Not only do we have local groups, but we also offer Fresh Hope groups online also. If you're interested in starting a Fresh Hope group in your community, email us at info@freshhope.us.